You take the Motion Boom, you add a plus to the name, and what have you got? You got a bigger speaker that goes louder but sounds nothing like the Motion Boom. A lot of us, a lot of you said, is it going to be a Boombox 2 killer? Look at the size of the Boombox 2. I've got a hernia trying to pick it up. Oh, it's so light. Yes, this is a light speaker. This is 2.4 kilos. It's 5.9 kilos. That's more than twice. That's getting on for 3 times the weight of that. That's huge. How could you ever think that this could be a Boombox 2 killer? But you did. Some of you were disappointed. We know now. It goes loud. But it's got mid bass, it's got upper bass. It doesn't have deep bass.
Damn, son.
We know that. The Boombox 2. It goes, oh, it's so deep. It's so deep. It's like digging a tunnel. It's going towards Australia. You put it in the garden because it goes thump, thump, thump. It's that deep. You've got to know the difference between deep bass, mid bass, upper bass to understand the difference between a speaker like this and a speaker like this. This goes loud. It don't cost that much, about $180, 190 quid, but that's too much. We think it's going to be about 150 quid. So we know it goes very, very loud. And we know it doesn't weigh much. And for a lot of people, well, that's all that matters. But we know it's quite harsh. It's got a 6 kilohertz peak. It doesn't need to be there. They put it there in firmware 29.
What the was that?
0.29. It wasn't there in the firmware before that. And it's not for delicate listening. This is for going thump, 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 and in your face, aggressive, uplifting kind of a sound, but very tiring if you just want to have normal, just want to listen to your music. It's going to be quite tiring. You're going to want to party. You're going to want to be quite buzzing, to be quite honest, when you listen to that. And then it's going to work. But this is the Boombox 2. This is one everyone else is measured against. The JBL Boombox 2. And it's 160 watts.
Whatever.
They put on the website 160 watts. In the box itself comes a little manual that says 80 watts. If you ask UK support, what's is it 80 watts or is it 160 watts? They say it's 80 watts, and they don't know why. They claim on the US website it's 160 watts. So it ain't 160 watts. It's 80 watts. On mains power, it's going to be even less. It doesn't matter. We're going to see how loud it goes anyway. So it's the Boombox 2. Have I put anything else of note? Just to tell you, it's the ND version. If you don't know, JBL do millions of different versions. Apparently, they do that on Harman Kardon speakers as well. Got to know what version it is. Mine's the ND version. And it's got a massive 2.5 kilohertz dip. That's the problem with that. They've all got issues. There's no perfect speaker out there. But we're going to have a listen. Now, I have to say, this goes really, really loud. Goes loud quite quickly. I've been, on my comparisons till now, 60% is about 80, 85% on every other speaker. At least now, the Boombox 2, although it's like 3 times the size, probably 3 times the price, it's a bit nearer. It's 75% for about the same loudness will match. And the point, I know, yeah, I heard what you said. You've already done the Boombox 2. You're milking it. You're trying to get views. No. I've custom EQ'd this now. Alan Ross custom EQ. I'm not saying it's perfect by any means, but for me, it fills in the mids, tames the highs a little bit. For me, it works. So now custom EQ, and I've pushed the bass a bit. Custom EQ versus the boom. You can only do default mode unless you use third-party EQ. So 65%. So at about the same loudness, and that loudness is 60% on the Motion Boom Plus. With my custom EQ, how close can the Motion Boom Plus get to being a JBL Boombox 2 160 watts? No. Killer.
Live in black and white. I can take one more life. Never thought someone could have so much to hide. We were so close. Where did the love go? Lost on desire. Now we tiptoe into the unknown, walking all night on thin ice.
closer than you may have thought, the Boombox 2 versus the Motion Boom Plus in its custom mode. But of course, the bigger bass is on the Boombox 2, 65Hz and down. It's only the Boombox 2 that can manage those deep rumbly bass tones, 5 decibels stronger overall deep bass, 13 decibels stronger by 40Hz, but not without issues on the Boombox 2. It does have a 2.5 kHz and 4.5 kHz dip. Overlaid the original track. The 6 kHz peak is not very natural at all on the Boom Plus. And the Boombox 2 then has a bit more extended highs, boosted highs, 9 kHz and above. So the Boombox 2 does lack sparkle. The clarity is there. It's got the tweeters. The tweeters do work. You don't get the harshness that you do there. But there are issues. There's a dip at 2.5 kHz. There's a dip at 5 kHz. It's robbing it of its sparkle. It gives it a dark nature. But what it does do, it does proper deep bass. The only slight advantage now is in the mid bass to the Motion Boom Plus. Overall bass, we're a decibel up on, as you would hope, at the price and the weight, a decibel up on the Boombox 2. In terms of that deep bass, we are 13 decibels up at 40Hz. And overall deep bass, we're up by 5 decibels. It's actually even got a tad more in the upper bass. That's the difference. The actual, we talk about, is this a Boombox killer? This is the Boombox. This is the Boombox 2. We're very, very close to the Boombox 3. If it comes out before this video comes out, I'm going to scream, because that would be a complete waste of my time. But as you can see, it's not a Boombox 2 killer. Because it doesn't do deep bass. That is all about its deep, proper bass.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
But it's not a perfect speaker by any means. It's got dips all over, not all over the place, but in places you wouldn't want them. So it lacks sparkle, it lacks detail, but it's got lovely deep bass. It goes boom, 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 and you can do it, and it will play loud outside. It will do that outside as well, and that's why you want your boom. It looks a bit more meaty.
Wow!
You've just gone round your girlfriend's house.
Hello!
One bloke took his Soundcore and she looked at that. What's that? And another bloke took his Boombox too. He said, "Caw!" I'm not going to say you go. "Caw! Look at the size of that." And she was well impressed. And imagine with the Boombox 3. When it gets a proper logo, I don't know why. They're almost embarrassed about the logo. And yes, why it's all black? Come on, if you're trying to move up a gear and have a Boombox 2 killer, let's have some multicoloured speakers. I don't know, this in all black. How cheap is black paint compared to other colour paint? Why are they all black? And we got these, this is camouflage. You put it down, you can't find it again because it's camouflage. But hey ho, there is something to the look of the speaker. I've said it before, and it's true. It can slant your perception of the sound of the speaker, the looks. If you like the look of the speaker, you're more likely to like the sound of it. It sounds silly, but it's absolutely true. It's been proven time and time again. So, for me, the Boombox 2 there wins because that's too harsh. You're getting a lovely deep bass, but it don't win for price and it don't win for weight, and that's the point, and that's where it comes into its own. We go to maximum volume. You want a proper party, you're just going to go zoom 100%. What's going to happen?
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done now. I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done now.
So the Boom Plus does go louder, 2.5 decibels louder overall, but the story is the bass of the Boombox 2. It's stronger from 80 Hz and down, and where it really loses out in the volume stakes is that big 2.5 kilohertz dip, but it does have a little bit more of a peak, around 13 kilohertz. So Boombox 2 maximum volume, it's still 11 decibels up at 40 hertz. It's 6 decibels louder just in overall deep bass. They're about the same in terms of the mid bass. It's the upper bass where the Boom Plus is stronger, and overall the Boombox 2 is slightly smoother on the ears, whereas that peak on the Boom Plus is slightly hard to take. That's the problem for the Motion Boom Plus. It becomes very hard-edged as some of that bass drops off. It's still got a lot of bass, but it has relatively, the bass has dropped off. And it doesn't really balance the highs now. And that 6 kilohertz peak comes right through and smashes your ear holes to pieces. For me, personally. And that's why, as loud as it goes, and impressively goes that loud with that price tag, with that weight, it's still, it's a hard listen. It doesn't go as loud, but it's not that far behind. And this is on battery. It'll go about a decibel louder with the mains power. So about 2 decibels in it at this point, and it will be about only 1 decibel in it if you actually play this off the mains. But then, of course, it's not portable, and I'm all about portable speakers. This is dark and smooth at these volumes. I can listen to it, and I know it's a high price, but I think fair enough. I want a really deep, party-sounding bass without killing my ears. It does do the job. Overall deep bass, 6 decibels up. That's huge. Remember, 3 decibels is like doubling the power. So, look, it's a high price, but for me, whereas the JBL Extreme 3 does not deliver, and there are other better, cheaper options, this is still, in terms of deep bass, it still kind of justifies its price, although it doesn't need to be that kind of price, but it looks big, it looks impressive, it sounds impressive, but it's not clear, I'm not going to listen to jazz on it. I'm not going to do serious listening, but I'm going to have a lot of fun, and it won't kill my ears, so I can enjoy this, I can smile listening to this, I can play this indoors. I don't find the bass overwhelming, I just find it a lot of fun. I don't know what my neighbours are saying, whereas it's just a lack of deep bass. Once you're tuned into deep bass, it's just not there, and that's one of the problems for me. A lot of people, you W King lovers, not the T9, someone pointed out you did like the T9, but all the other W King I've heard, they're all upper bass line, and a lot of you love that. Just like you loved your JBL Extreme 1 and Extreme 2, which are very much upper bass speakers. You didn't like the Extreme 3, that's because it's a deep bass speaker. And it's all about taste. You've got to understand the difference in the different bits of bass that we talk about.
Player 1.
I like deep bass. I like that because it does underpin, and you want a solid 40 hertz if you want to hear the drums properly. The deep bass on those drums, 40 hertz is where it's at. You ain't going to hear it, and you're going to hear it there, and if that's what you're listening for, you're going to love this. But there is no perfect speaker. I hope I pointed out the differences here. Have I missed anything else? We talked about the price. Of course, they're made in China. Where else? We talked about that battery being under spec. 46 watt hours, 72.6 watt hours. That's the difference. That's a proper battery. That's almost an afterthought about the battery. Still SBC codecs, Bluetooth 5.1, Bluetooth 5.3, both do stereo pairing and party mode. This is a barrel charger, that's USB-C charging. Both have auxiliary input, both can be used as a power bank. Only Motion Boom Plus can be used as a speakerphone. Talked about the power. We talked about the weights. Amazingly, not only is this waterproof, IP67, dustproof and waterproof, 30 minutes in 1 meter of water. It actually floats. And Mr. Tech Ninja thingy, the Ascended Tech Ninja pointed out that it floats. And if you mess about with the handles, I think you're saying kind of doing that, it will actually float with the drivers up. That's absolutely brilliant for a speaker that size and that heavy. But this floats. And if you're in the sea, if you're in somewhere deep, you ain't going to lose it. On a lot of them, IPX7 rated, but they don't float to me. Okay, in a bath it's fine, but there's going to be places more than meter deeps where you're still going to be in danger of losing your speaker. In terms of the drivers, 2 90mm woofers, 2 25mm tweeters, 2 passive radios, 2 106mm woofers, 2 20mm, bigger woofers, smaller tweeters. I don't know. 2 20mm tweeters, 2 passive radiators, titanium drivers, woofers, neodymium magnets. 140 milliseconds is really, really poor. YouTube streaming, 33 milliseconds for me. That was Excellent. There is an app for the JBL Boombox 2, but there's no EQ available. But JBL EQ is, they call it, laughingly call it an EQ. It's not really an EQ. It's a 3-band slider where you can adjust the overall nature of the sound. And it's an algorithm driven that do different things at different volumes. And there's no free bass. You can't push the bass over and above where it would limit. Anyway, that's been my overview. Custom EQ versus the Boombox 2. It ain't a Boombox 2 killer. But it certainly has a market, but it's not the market you were probably expecting. You motion boom lovers, that's a very different sound, and I know a lot of the motion boom lovers, especially if you've already got 2 motion booms, there is no reason really to buy the Motion Boom Plus, because 2 motion booms can almost match the bass of that, and can go louder overall. So if you don't mind slapping 2 speakers, and you've already got those 2 speakers, that doesn't make any sense, although pointed out its market. I hope by now I've got over where we are with speakers. I'm not saying it's an awful speaker. I know people have come on saying, oh, at least I'm giving the negatives, and now they're not going to buy it. I'm not saying it's a speaker that you should give a miss to. I'm saying you need to know why you're buying it and then what to expect. But it's not a Motion Boom Plus in the sense that we thought it was going to be, or indeed a Boombox 2 killer. This has been my comparison. I hope you got something out of it. I'm off to the hairdresser, and I thank you for watching.
I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life. Ain't no project wife, got my logic right, guess I'm not your type. I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life. Sorry, ma, I ain't get it right. I'ma just live my life. I ain't about that. I ain't about that life.